Geek Myths, a novel about life, love, and the pursuit of sonic screwdrivers. Available in paperback and Kindle edition from Amazon.
Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. This time talking about Jenny, the Doctor's daughter. Brand new series from Big Finish. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend that I was looking forward to this particular box set. I had it down as just another disposable bit of spin-off nonsense. Because in all fairness, I wasn't a big fan of the story. Well, the concept of Jenny. Yes, Georgia Moffat / Tennant, as she is now, is a gloriously good actress, right? No arguments there. I just wasn't fond of the character, I wasn't fond of the storyline, I wasn't fond of the ending. It was just one of those stories that wasn't for me. And you know what? That is fine. Not all Doctor Who is for you. Hey, let's face it, as a middle-aged man, no Doctor Who is for me, really. It's all targeted at someone considerably younger and considerably more childlike in their worldview. Perhaps that's why we like Doctor Who. It allows us to hang on to our childlike worldviews. That's not important. We can discuss that another time. What matters is that this box set was so much better than than I thought it had any right to be. And that's hardly nice of me, is it? I mean, no one ever sets out to write a bad story. And the Doctor's daughter just didn't do anything for me. But here we've got 4 cracking stories. Now bear with me, I'm probably going to speak some sort of blasphemous nonsense. But this box set is as fun, is as rollicking, and is as intense as I wanted the Charlotte Pollard box set to be. I found the Charlotte Pollard spin-off series to be a little, tremendously downbeat, almost bordering and touching on the world of Survivors. This isn't. This is full pelt, full metal, full force Doctor Who spin-off. And, of course, without it having the Doctor and without it having all of that foreknowledge, but with still having the same level of enthusiasm as the 10th Doctor, the Tennant Doctor. What number he is, I'm going to leave that completely up to you. It's just, great. I went in wanting to hate this. I really did, and that's not healthy. That's not good. That's not a nice way to behave as a reviewer. I mean, let's face it, everybody involved in this is talented, is thoughtful, is very good at their job. They wouldn't be telling us these stories. So let's leave the baggage at the door and just talk about these 4 great tales. Here's the synopsis for the first one. Jenny is brand new to the universe. Born a soldier, made for war, she has a Time Lord's heritage. Luckily, that Time Lord is the Doctor. She's ready to save planets, fight monsters, and save the day using nothing but her bravery, wit, and instinct, and an awful lot of running. 1.1 Stolen Goods by Matt Fitton. Jenny is new to the universe and keen to explore, but in unfamiliar spaceships, accidents happen. She's lucky to have someone on hand to help, a slippery, fast-talking someone called Garundel. Soon, Jenny is mixed up in cons and explosions, but she also finds something strange, inexplicable, and as new to the universe as she is. She calls him Noah. So as I said, I turn up to this box set with my baggage. Not proud, but I am being honest. And by the time the series is finished, the baggage has been kicked to the corner and I'm just embarrassed. I'm almost willing to go back and watch the original story, but let's face it, it is, best part of a decade old by now. That's put you into space, haven't you? So, your basic first story has got Stuart Milligan's return as Garundel. And you know what? He's one of my all-time favourite Big Finish characters. Ludicrously camp, ludicrously unfilmable on TV. It could never possibly be well realised. He could work in a comic, but I just can't see him working on TV because he would just have to be CGI'd. But here, in the realm of your imagination, in the realm of Big Finish, he just works. He's not a Toad, but he's such a Toad man. Stuart Milligan, the guy who played Nixon in Doctor Who, the bloke famous for being the magician in Jonathan Creek, is a brilliant actor. And even he says that this part is something of a challenge to him, something that he relishes. The voice is completely unlike his own. The characterization, again, completely unlike his own. It just works. I love this character, and that gave me a smile, and it also let me in for this series. Now, if I was being a cynic, I'd say they were introducing this character in order to make just me like this series. And if that was the case, well done you. Go on, well done. There's not a lot more you can do with an irrepressible con man than have some sort of con going on. And as someone who, well, admittedly had a bit of a bump in his car last week, and admittedly ended up exchanging insurance documents almost the same day that I was listening to this story, yeah, I know, that's serendipity. Well, it did ring far too close to home. Let's face it, you can only drive through Bradford so long before you're in some sort of incident. Luckily, no one was hurt, and the only damage was minor paintwork abrasions. Thank God for a speed limiter. But still, we did the right thing and exchanged documents. Now, that's my life, that's not this story. Jenny's character completely defined by the concept of enthusiasm. But then again, so could the 10th Doctor, and that's who her father is. Her father is always going to be the 10th Doctor. Yes, in the future I'm sure she'll meet some of the other Doctors. I'd love her to meet River. I'd love her to meet the new Doctor and just confuse her and just say Father, Mother, or whatever. But then, of course, you've got other characters. Eventually we've got the character of Noah, which is fine. But you've also got lots of other people, and you've got the obligatory villain of the piece in the Colt 5000. Now what they've done, because Jenny's obviously a gender swap from the Doctor for the characterization, but she's still a companion in the sense that she's got her own series and she isn't the Doctor. So she's got her own limitations, but she's still got more powers than an ordinary person, and so on. You have to make this unique selling point. So you've got a lot of gender swaps. You've got gender neutral characters swapped over. You've got an entire race of females running a planet with men who are basically, kept at home and revered. Yeah, I know, we'll get back to that storyline in a minute. Issues with that can be brought up with the author, not me. So you've got a lot of gender swapping, or traditional role gender swapping going on here. And as far as I'm concerned, because I'm working completely on that kind of story myself, it was just nice to see it reflected elsewhere. You've got Jenny, the central protagonist, and you've got the Colt 5000 played by the great actress Sian Phillips. Yeah. Now there are times when she does sound a little Fenella Fielding. Imagine a Terminator sounding like that, and you've kind of got the character of the Colt 5000. Unstoppable, unrelenting, and sounding like she's going to host a dinner party. She's a bounty hunter and she wants Time Lord DNA. That's her entire motivation. And she is, of course, the main story arc, the overriding thing. The Torchwood, the Saxon, all the way through. It's a nice MacGuffin and it works. Story 1, you've got your insurance fraud. Story 2, now that is slightly more weird. It's got Arabella Weir in it, Prisoner of the Ood. Here's the synopsis. 1.2, Prisoner of the Ood by John Dorney. Moving into Leaffield Crescent, Angie Graysbook is surprised by an unexpected caller, but not half as surprised as Jenny. suddenly transported to a suburban close in the 21st century Earth. And that's nothing. Surprise of her neighbours when alien visitors start appearing. Visitors with tentacled mouths, carrying death-dealing orbs. The Ood have come for their prisoner. Suburban world. Now this actually feels like a 10th Doctor story, so I wasn't particularly surprised when I was hearing at the very end, on the extra disc, that the story itself was originally pitched as a 10th Doctor story. It feels very 10th Doctor. It would have worked as one of those Doctor Light taking place on Earth stories. But because it's Jenny, it actually feels, well, more real, more odd because of the Ood appearing in the world. I don't want to say any more than that, but let's face it, Arabella Weir, the first official proper female Doctor, gets my vote. I'm not fond of what they did in her story, her Doctor Who Unbound story, but that's because I wanted her, same actress, to play it more straight. We'll get back to reviewing those particular Unbounds another time because they are tremendously old. But let's remember, Big Finish may have done it first. Or was Joanna Lumley? That's an argument for another time. Oh, if you are interested in canon and what counts and what doesn't count, go and listen to this week's This Week in Time Travel. Or was it last week's? Depends when you're listening to this, I guess. That is another podcast for you to listen to another time. On the subject of which, who out there is listening to the Benji and Nick podcast? Spin-off or not spin-off? Parallel, let's say, parallel off from the Big Finish. It's the people who do the Big Finish podcast, but they're discussing other stuff. Last week they were discussing UFO, episode 1. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, I'd suggest you head over there. Also, they are running a competition to win that as a DVD. Meanwhile, back at this review, Prisoner of the Ood works. Because you've got the good life and you've got aliens. Yes, there's touches of Under the Dome, but not really. Let's face it, the invisible force barrier dates all the way back, well, probably even before the Midwich Cuckoos. So we don't need to go there. What we need to do is talk about Story 3. Here's the synopsis. Neon Rain by Christian Brassington. The Dragon Lord rules with fear. Half the oppressed population live in an addicted stupor, while the other half are forced into service. Factories belch poisonous smoke, and dragon guards patrol the streets, condemning dissidents to eternal fire. When Jenny and Noah arrive, it's only a matter of time before they start a revolution. Now this one's your rollicking alien landscape story. Yes, it's got Blade Runner, it's got rain, and you've arrived in the rainy season, which is great because it's nice that there isn't a planet where it just rains all the time. Although a friend of mine did go and see The Crow, where the line is it can't rain all the time, and somebody else then said, have you visited Manchester? And everyone laughed because they had. But it does bode well. I love those planets where it just goes, oh yeah, we've landed, and it's a desert world. Well, no, this bit's a desert. There's some sea over there and there's some green bits over there. Worlds defined by one climate are just weird. So it was nice that that sort of thing was mentioned. World building at its best. And there are, of course, a few clues along the way to what's going on. But you know what? That's part of the charm. The Jenny stories aren't perhaps as challenging as some of the main ranges, but they are rip-roaring adventure. Which brings me rather weirdly to the thing I should have mentioned first off. The theme tune. It's been done by somebody who does the Bond movies and a load of other major films. You can tell this is a particularly talented operator. But if you were to have, just for sake of argument, a Doctor Who movie at the cinema, made for the cinema, I know there are whole arguments about the fact that Doctor Who is basically made for the cinema anyway, because it's so cinematic and well realised. But bear with me. Say you were making a story that was just for the cinema, for Doctor Who. If you turned around and used this music, the music for Jenny, as the main opening titles, and just said, no, it's the Doctor Who music, the audience, as one, would go, yeah, it is, that makes sense. That's the movie soundtrack, but it sounds so much like the Doctor Who music. And it does. It's just brilliant. It's just catchy. You know what? It's almost worth buying just for the theme tune. Okay, perhaps not, but it is great. So, with story number 3 under our belts, we could discuss the gender politics, but you know what? I don't want to give away any spoilers, and that's not needed. What is needed is for me to talk about story number 4. Here's the synopsis for that. 1.4, Zero Space, by Adrian Poynton. Out in deep space, in the middle of quite literally nowhere, Jenny and Noah believe they've found a safe haven, and very possibly some answers. But the space station holds many secrets, and it won't be long before Jenny's past catches up with her. Bounty hunter Colt 5000 is on her trail, and will stop at nothing to hunt down its quarry, even in zero space. Now with story 4, you've got something taking place in zero space, somewhere, part of the universe where there is literally nothing. You've got a crew full of clones, and you've got some scientists trying to solve stuff. Think Sharda kind of thing. And of course the Colt 5000 still after them. Sean's great, Georgia Tennant, brilliant. And yes, I do find it odd that her husband played her dad when her dad was playing the same character as her husband. But you know what? It's all cloning, and it's all good to me. Perhaps I didn't like the original, but perhaps I was wrong. I so often am. Here's the trailer, and I'll let you decide for yourself. So until next time, when I'm probably going to be talking about Doctor Who, UFO, or a host of other things, or anything that grabs me. Be seeing you.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions.
I'm the Doctor's daughter, Jenny. I was grown from a part of him. A cell scrape from the back of his hand, if you want to get technical. I was made for war, but I'd rather not fight. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. I'd rather explore, and I've got a whole universe to discover.
Oh, man! A moon! Seriously, you're flying us into a moon after everything we've been through?
Planets to save.
I need some plasma stun rifles.
Laser targeted if you've got them, just in case you understand, and a subwave communication beacon.
Creatures to defeat.
Where are you from? I've never met anyone purple before.
Looks like he's got spaghetti in his beard.
I am Colt 5000, sentient cyborg.
Oh, are you a toad person? I've met fish people before. Didn't get along.
Doctor Who, the new series. Jenny, the Doctor's daughter.
When are you going to realise she's the one person who can get us out of this?
I am cleverer than a machine, so I need to learn how to completely reprogram you in, 51 seconds. How hard can it be?
Big Finish. We love stories.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.